Hi, this is Lives Touched by Pets, a show for those who love and are loved by pets. I'm your host, Lisa Desatnik, certified trainer with so much potential in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm really glad that you're here. Welcome. Today, I'm thrilled to have join me Linda Castañeda. She's the lead trainer for our Cincinnati Zoo and Botanical Gardens Cat Ambassador program. She spends her day working with a variety of African species, including cheetahs, servals, a porcupine, a red river hog, and domestic dogs and cats. That sounds like a fun day to me. I learned so much from her when I first met her this fall, so I thought you would enjoy learning from her as well. So Linda's here because we really want to talk about what the Cincinnati Zoo is doing with cheetahs and dogs. And it's a phenomenal program that we've got. It's a program that has been featured on the National Geographic. In fact, a cub that I met, I'm not going to say when, and I'm not going to date myself, but Linda mentions it later on today, was featured in National Geographic, and that's a really big deal. And here's another fun fact. The voice of Goofy on Disney, which I don't know about you, but that's a really big deal, being a voice of Goofy. I love Goofy. So he created a show called A Dog's Life on Disney Plus, and it featured dogs with unusual jobs. So guess what he featured? Some of the dogs with unusual jobs at the Cincinnati Zoo. Their job is to be a friend to the cheetahs. How cool is that? Who wants a job like that? I think that would be fun. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the Cincinnati Zoo Cat Ambassador Program, what that's all about, what your goals are with it, and why you're raising dogs with cats. Tell me about the cheetahs. So how many cheetahs are in the program?
Currently, we have 2 boys and 3 girls. Nope, we have 5 girls. So we have 7. Do quick count in my head. So we have 7 cheetahs. They range in age from 2 all the way up to 16, which is pretty old for a cheetah. Generally, their lifespan is that like of a big dog, about 10 to 12. So we keep our cheetahs their whole life, even if they're retired from running, which is what we primarily do with our cheetahs. We still have them in our space and use them as ambassador animals to the capacity at which they are interested and are physically able. So we let them decide what interest they have in participating, and also their physical ability limits their participation or selects their participation.
When would a cheetah retire from running?
So in Africa, never, because they would need to every day. But what we see is that, a big male cheetah in Africa wouldn't really live past 8. And our boys, one is 8 and one is 16. So that is pretty high up there in human care because we can provide them with preventative medicine and proper nutrition. We see that our cheetahs live long enough that we start to see things like arthritis that we normally would not see in a cheetah that lives in Africa because their lifespan probably would not really allow them to get to that point. So if we start to see any medical issues, or also sometimes behaviorally, we've found that some of our males decide that they have more interest in the females than they do in running, which is fine. But when you have an audience of 500 people, they would like to see that cheetah run and not stop to mark their territory on a tree along the way, which people love watching because it's always funny. But we're here to see cheetah run. So that means that male may not have as much interest in running and will still run for fun, just not run during the encounter when people are expecting to see a cheetah at full speed.
Yeah. What other things other than running would you train the cheetah to do as part of the captivity?
Cheetahs are creatures of habit. So most of their training, and they're very shy creatures. So most of their training when they're young is just getting used to their environment, get used to the door closing, get used to moving from inside to outside, get used to the people that are going to be, constantly in your environment that you can trust. And then the routine, so the day-to-day routine. And then even though our cheetahs are all hand-raised cubs, and we can go in with them and interact with them, we do train their medical procedures, what we call protected contact. So with a barrier between us and them. So we do train injections for annual vaccines. We train blood draw to monitor their health. And some of those things, we have someone on our team who's been authorized by a vet team to give injections, but those blood draws are being done by our vet techs. And since they don't know them as well, we also want to make sure everyone's comfortable. And that's a good behavior to train, protected contact, where there's a barrier between the cheetah and the vet tech to keep everyone safe and comfortable while their blood's being drawn.
I think that's worth spending just a minute on because that's such a big movement now into cooperative care. And it's such an important way for fear-free handling and medical procedures and things. And I love that zoos are the ones that really stand out and do this a lot because, you're working with wild animals that you can't just manhandle. And so... Yeah, so when you train a blood draw or you train a medical procedure, what are you actually training the cheetah to do as cooperative care?
So we're training them to line up in position and position we need them in, and then to accept that, I guess anticipate the behavior that's going to occur, like somebody touching their tail, pulling their tail through, they have little tail chutes where you can put the tail through. And then the stick itself, I don't think that cheetahs generally notice it. And our vet techs here, we're very fortunate, are really good at getting a bane, the first try. It's tough to ask an animal to be patient for a long period of time while your techs are trying to work out where that bane is. Some of our cheetahs, we do a little bit of a shave on their tail so that bane to be easier to see. When you're training them also to sit still. So I need you to sit here, let your tail be manipulated, and then just hang out here for a few seconds to under a minute in order for our techs to make sure they collect the blood that they need.
Yeah. Very, very important. I mean that it's neat to see. I encourage people if they haven't seen that to there's videos even out on YouTube and things of watching zoos do cooperative care. I think that's fascinating. It's such an important piece of your work. Okay, so tell me about the Cat Ambassador program. What is it and how?
So it got started by a woman named Catherine Hilker, who is a local Cincinnatian, and she started outreach at our zoo in the 60s. So taking smaller animals out to classroom programs and to community events. And then in 1980, she got her first cheetah named Angel. And I think Catherine always had a fascination with cheetahs. And the more she got to know them, the more she got to love them. And she spent many years with Angel, who we estimate saw millions of people in her lifetime. And when Angel passed in 1992, Catherine started the Angel Fund, which is a nonprofit in Angel's honor that still today helps to save cheetahs in Africa. So she expanded the program to include other cats. For years and years, for example, she had a snow leopard, she had a cougar. Actually, Angel's good friend was Carrie the cougar. We have statues outside of the cheetah encounter of a cheetah and a cougar, and that's them. She's had servals and ocelots and all kinds of different cat species, but the cheetah has really been the signature species of what we do, and also of Catherine herself's legacy, because she did connect with Dr. Lori Marker, who started Cheetah Conservation Fund in Namibia in Southern Africa. And Catherine and her husband, Heggie, helped support Cheetah Conservation Fund financially for many, many years while it was struggling. So I personally think that she is one of the people that helped save the cheetah, make sure the cheetah stays on this planet, because she provided so much support, both personally and professionally, for so many years to guarantee the cheetah's success and the Cheetah Conservation Fund success.
She's an amazing woman, all that she did and accomplished and the heart that she had. I was lucky enough to have met her years ago. And I remember it was just a really incredible experience to get to meet her. Then I got to meet Tommy, a baby cub, who's still there and still part of your program. Is he actively involved in the ambassador program still?
So Tommy is the oldest. He is going to be 16 in about a week or so. So he still goes out on walks and he still does smaller programs. He obviously is not in our running program anymore because he is an old man. But he's still one of our best known cheetahs. He was we call him our centerfold because he was sort of the highlight cheetah when we did a run with National Geographic in 2012. And so the November 2012 issue of National Geographic, it has Cuba on the cover, but there's a cheetah at the top running, a photo of a cheetah, and that cheetah is Tommy. And if you open up, there's a centerfold photo of Tommy running. So he is our most famous cheetah.
Oh, how cool. I got to hang out with a celebrity.
Yeah.
Now I'm really dating myself because I didn't know he was 16 years old. And I have a photo of him when he was a cub. And I've showed you that picture of him grabbing onto my pant leg. And I think if zoo staff wasn't right there, I think my pants would have been shredded. But that was really a neat experience. Wow, I did not know he was such a celebrity. That's really neat.
Yeah, they're adorable, but they are, like young infant toddlers. They can be quite a handful when they're little. And they don't know their boundaries quite yet when they're small. So manners is one of the things that we learn as an ambassador cheetah, and what's appropriate around humans, but what is not.
So that brings us to why the dog program and how you started that. Why is that so important to raising a cheetah?
So we do have you call it an initiative or a mandate, I guess you would say, in zoos that we try to provide our animals with sort of the closest experience they would have to their natural history. And cheetahs would always have a sibling. They're such odd animals, but one of the oddest things about them is that a cheetah mom, if she only has one cub, it will not survive. She always has to have two or more. One cub doesn't stimulate enough milk production for her, and her milk will dry up, cub will starve to death. Mom will go into estrus and start over again, and to potentially hopefully have a larger litter. And that's because she puts all the effort into them. She spends 1.5 to 2 years caring for them alone. There's a lot of work. So she has to get, the most bang for her buck, or the most, mathematically speaking, it isn't worth it to just have one cub. So cheetahs always have two. Litters of 3 or more are the most successful. And that means they always have a playmate. They always have a brother or sister. Animals that are young need to practice those skills they need into adulthood. They need to run, they need to play, they need to jump on each other. All those things are such important things for the development of a cheetah, and they cannot do that with us. We do not want them thinking that humans are the appropriate thing to play with. And as much fun as we are, we just can never duplicate the tussling of 2 baby cheetah cubs. So in human care, if we only have one cheetah, we will often try to foster it with another mother who has cubs of the same age. And we have been successful this year. Actually, we had a cub born in Oregon, and we had 2 here in Cincinnati. So we took the one cub Just put it in with our Cincinnati mom and walked away. Mom can't count, so now she's raising 3 babies. She thinks they're hers. It's fine. Everyone's happy. But when there is no other cheetah cub and we do have to raise it ourselves, the closest thing we can get is a puppy. And so this same method has been used in many other facilities. It's not unique to just Cincinnati. Other places across the country have done it as well. And it allows the cheetah to still run, play, jump, fight, hustle, all those things with another living thing that is sort of their size and in the same life stage as they are.
Yeah, it's such an important role then for that dog. So how do you choose a dog for that role?
Ah, yes. The interviewing of the dog. So we've done various things throughout the history. Years past, we would choose the Anatolian Shepherd, the guard dog. It's the dog that they use in Africa to protect livestock from predators like cheetahs. And we chose the Anatolian because we wanted to tell the conservation story. So we thought if we take this particular dog breed with us, then it's easy for us to tell the story, and the dog's right here as an example. And Anatolians are really tough working dogs. If anyone knows anything about Anatolian, you would think to yourself, why would you do that? We're not sure why we did that. So once we started to see that dogs were used in different capacity for conservation, like the scat detection dogs, we realized that we don't have to tell the story of conservation with just the Anatolian breed. We could tell it with various dogs. So we then started to raise the cheetahs with other dogs, and we would go to our local shelter and find a dog that way because we also want to tell the story about dog adoption. 3 of our dogs have been black dogs because they're adopted less in shelters as well. So anytime we can use the dog to tell any kind of story about helping animals, we can go ahead and do that. So we look for a dog that we think it'll be medium to large size dog. We don't want to put a Chihuahua in there, knowing that it's not going to quite approximate the size of our cheetah into adulthood. We looked for a dog that is friendly to us, friendly to the other puppies in the space. We want them to be amicable to the cheetah. We want them to be well-mannered. We want them to be able to listen, and we want them to have stamina to keep up with the baby cheetah. So in fact, upon one occasion, there was like 11 puppies in this litter, and they were all friendly, and they were all nice, and they were all cute. And we thought, oh, how are we going to pick? And it was me and another trainer, and I said, okay, let's play. And the last puppy standing, that's our puppy, because that's the one with the most stamina. And that's exactly what we did. We got on the ground and we just played the little puppies. And one by one, they all fell asleep. And the last puppy standing, that's the puppy we took.
That puppy still had a lot of energy for the cheetah. Yeah, those are a lot of qualities to be looking for in a companion for a cheetah. So did you have to do training with the dog before you introduce them to the cheetah?
So because we are a zoo and the dogs come from sort of a relatively unknown background, we do have to quarantine the dog to make sure that we're not passing on any cooties to our cheetah or anyone else in our building space. So we do have to quarantine the dog, which means it gives us an opportunity to work on things like potty training. We work on the basic behaviors, leash and collar, sitting, staying, laying down. Leave it is a good one with the cheetah dog pair, because inevitably the dog will want to chew on the cheetah ears, or the cheetah will want to chew on the dog ears, and the dog will want to grab the cheetah's tail and drag it around by the tail. Every single cheetah dog pair has done this, but everyone leaves with tails and ears all put together, so it ends up being okay. So we do have the opportunity to train that dog the basic behaviors, but our goal with the dog is really to be the cheetah's buddy. So we try not to separate them unnecessarily. we do during training. We want the cheetah to learn to work independent of the dog. If we have other dogs in the program, we want the puppy to be well socialized and get to know the other dogs so that it can not just speak cheetah, but also know how to understand dog language and dog behavior. But I will say that they probably do not have as much training as other dogs out there because their primary goal is really to be that cheetah's buddy.
And they probably are getting a ton of training. It's just different kind of training and the skills and things that you're needing from that dog. Yeah, so there's probably lots of lessons and parallels between having a dog as a pet and this, still lots of work and how you brought them together carefully. Are the dogs with the cheetahs 24/7 or are they living with somebody?
So they are, the initial introduction isn't, it doesn't always go as planned. I remember, for example, Moose, our chocolate lab, as a chocolate lab, he's really friendly. He's like, hey guys, what's going on? He goes up to the cheetah, Donnie, and he's like, hey buddy, let's be friends. And Donnie just picked up his paw and just gave it to him across the nose and just gave him a nice big smack. And Moose was like, what did I do? Well, what happened? So the initial introduction isn't always love at first sight. It takes a little bit of time for them to realize that they can be playmates and they can be buddies. So we do slow introductions until we feel comfortable enough that they are okay to be left alone together. And then we're always here supervising them. So we do separate them at night if they're left alone. And then we'll put them back together as long as someone is around. And they're usually a couple weeks. It depends on the cheetah dog pair, how long it takes. But generally speaking, they realize suddenly they're BFF. And, they are then left alone together 24/7, unless someone's eating, mostly the cheetah, because raw meat is delicious. And the dog always tries to steal the cheetah's food. Generally, the cheetahs don't care about the dog kibble, but the dogs are interested in getting in the raw meat. And then for training is when we separate them. But once they've reached the point where they're friends and everyone's comfortable, then they are together 24/7.
Yeah. Are the dogs, because they're not raised to be like, surrounded just by people and things, are they, when you bring them out and about, are they like family dogs too, or primarily, because the cheetah was their family? What do you see as, how are there differences in raising a dog like this versus in a home?
I think it depends on the dog. The Anatolian Shepherds were certainly not as social because it's really just not in their nature to be social. We've had some dogs that were incredibly social. Dogs that we've had when we did a lot more school programs, loved children, loved being pet, loved being amongst people. And then we've had other dogs where, maybe we had them over the winter months where they didn't see as many people and weren't exposed to as much public because we weren't as busy. And those dogs have been a little bit more aloof about being around the public. So it really has depended upon the dog and sort of what they spent their time doing with the cheetah. And I think also, we have this theory that some dogs are the people dogs. Moose is friendly towards others, but the chocolate lab, but he really wants to just hang out where the people are. Whereas Remus, who's one of our mutts, he's okay with people, but he'd rather just hang out where the dogs are. So we have the dogs that are more people dogs and the dogs that are more dogs. So it's really just been kind of dependent. And, every breed has their sort of stereotypic personality and every individual has their preference. So it's really for us, we want to give them as many opportunities as they want to take to hanging out with your cheetah, hanging out alone, hanging out with other dogs, hanging out with us. We figure out what their preference is and try to give them as much as the thing that they're most interested in.
Yeah. Got the pleasure of meeting Remus and Moose. I love that they have job titles. That was fun. So they're retiring soon, these dogs. First of all, what happens when they retire, and what are you doing to throw them a party when they retire?
So we've always retired our dogs. At about a year and a half to 2 years, when cheetahs would naturally be dispersing on their own, the cheetah is sort of becomes indifferent to the dog. Like, you're there, that's cool. They're always sort of amicable to the dog, but they don't necessarily need to have the dog around. So I always compare it to your siblings growing up. You're always going to love your siblings. Do you want to share a bedroom with your siblings in your 20s? Probably not. You want your own space, you're your own person. So I kind of sort of compare that to that sibling relationship. So usually about that time, we do have adopted our dogs out to staff members. We're in a unique position right now. We've very rarely had 3 dogs, which is what we have right now. But we feel like while the cheetahs are still friendly towards them, it's time. Moose is 8, and I think he's lived here his whole life. And for him, I think it's time for him to sort of be a floof on a couch somewhere. Remus is 5, and he's still a good boy and still likes doing programs. But I think also 5 years old, he's done his time. He deserves to go on and live in a home. And then Daisy is 2 years old. And while she's still young and she's very energetic and still does some of our programming as well, we're hoping to have some cheetah cubs in the near future, potentially. And I think she would also enjoy, she's young enough and pliable enough that she can learn a new environment. And generally speaking, we have employees that sort of always ask, when are you retiring them? That are interested in having them in their home.
What are some of the things that you enjoy most about your job? To me, it all sounds really cool. Well, what are some of the things that you like most?
I think getting to know the animals' personalities is something that's really unique. It's unique to the job to really get to meet these animals when they're little, tiny creatures, and then see that personality develop and see it change over time. I I have one of the cheetahs, Willow. I was there the day she was born. She loves sleeping in, which I think she gets from me. But the days I'm trying to convince her, like, Willow, I need you to get up. I need to clean this room. And an hour goes by and I'm like, my God, I've spent an hour trying to convince this cheetah to get out of bed. What am I doing? What am I doing with my life? I've spent an hour trying to coerce a cheetah to get up. But it's fun to know that personality. It's, a common trait for Willow to decide not to get out of bed, and good luck cleaning around me, everybody. So I think that's a really fun aspect, that even though they are wild animals, they still have these unique personalities and develop these likes and dislikes and sort of little habits that they have. The other thing that's really important to me is knowing that we do make an impact. I've been here a long time now, and people that were young that saw the school program as a kid in school now come up to me and say, I remember you coming to our school, and I remember the program, and just being able to hear the impact that it's made. I've also been really fortunate that I've been lucky to travel to Africa, and I have that first person narrative of seeing the programs that we support and the difference that it makes for the animals and the people that live in that area. I've seen Cheetah Conservation Fund in Namibia, and to see, when I was there last summer, a cheetah, an older female cheetah, thought it was a good idea to try to take down a kudu, which is a bad idea if you're a female lone cheetah because they have large horns. And she had this huge gash in her side, and a farmer caught her trying to get an easy meal of goats and sheep. And, in the past, that farmer would have trapped and killed that cheetah. That would have been the end of the story. But because of the work Cheetah Conservation Fund has done, that farmer trapped her and called Cheetah Conservation Fund and said, come get this cheetah off my land because it's injured and it's trying to eat my goats and sheep. And so Cheetah Conservation Fund went and got her. They were able to patch up that wound, take care of her while she healed, and then successfully re-release her onto a different property in Namibia. And she was not an issue to that farmer anymore, but she is still out there and a wild cheetah, hopefully thriving in the savannah. And all of that, a lot of that comes because of what Catherine started here and the support that this program in the zoo continues to give. And that's really important and impactful.
That is phenomenal. How can people help or get involved? Can they get involved? Are there ways that they can contribute or with time or money to the program?
Yeah, so time's a little tougher just because of sort of the rules and the danger of working around animals. We do have a pretty extensive intern program and volunteer program, depending on where people are in their career and in their life. We also do have a saving species campaign that folks can donate to as well. If you look on our website, especially if they have a specific project in mind, they can designate their funds to that. And we do support cheetah conservation across Africa. So it's not just in Namibia, it's in South Africa and in Tanzania and Kenya and Botswana. So there's lots of ways for folks to help out and get involved. I know there have been people who are big dog fans that want to support the guard dog program and that support cheetah outreach in South Africa. They also breed the guard dogs and give those out to farmers and support the livestock guarding dog program. So there's a little bit of everything for everyone to be able to help.
When you go to a school and you're talking about educating people or you're giving a show at the zoo, in your mind, like, what are some of the important things that you would like people to walk away with? What kinds of knowledge are you trying to impart on all these people?
I think the uniqueness of a cheetah is what is amazing. I just had this conversation with someone where there's, in American zoos, we have our cheetah population here is about our cheetah population here is about 330 individuals. And in Africa, we think it's 6,000 to 8,000. So if you go to a ball game, for example, there are more people in that ballpark than there are cheetahs on this planet.
Wow.
So it's a wow moment. Every cheetah is important and needs our care and detail and attention. And I think it's amazing to see a cheetah do what they can do here at the zoo. And I think our zoo visitors are probably so used to us having a cheetah program that we take it for granted how truly rare it is. And we need to do everything we can to save every cheetah anywhere on this planet because there are so few of them.
Well, hopefully some people that are listening to this too are going to take away that message as well. So thanks for being here today. Really, really appreciate your time and helping to spread the word about your program and about cheetahs and everything that you do with the ambassador program. So thanks for being here.
Absolutely. We love to tell our story. Thank you for having me and being a support for the zoo. And I think everyone has to find that one animal that they're passionate about and see what they can do locally and globally to figure out how they help to support that animal.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing to my podcast. Come back often and tell your friends. If I can be of any help to you and your pet, please reach out to me via my website, www.somuchpotential.com. And for a lot more information, fun, and videos, please follow me, So Much Potential, on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. See you soon.